I thank the universal truth and the absolute laws of nature for guiding me, protecting me, and giving me the strength to endure the imperfect. I shall attack with vigor, making progressive moves. A divine mind knows, a divine mind shows. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. Salute, salute, peace and power to the people that struggle. Peace and power. How you do, how you do, how you do. Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets and shout out to the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We'll take that W. We'll take that W. Now let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's move away from the activities and discussions that we are witnessing, listening to, have no intention of adding on to from earlier. All right, let's put ourselves in a different place just for now, uh, because as you know, many things will move us mentally, many things will move us spiritually, and if we fail to begin to control our thoughts and our emotions, we will continue to be victims of someone else's truth. All right? Victims of someone else's truth. We see two black men, two successful black men who are no strangers, to being triggered and allowing their emotions to take over and allow ignorance to supersede their decision making process. Now, if we're dealing with Ye, Mr. Ye West, who we all can attest to his behavior being less than stable. His behavior gives us reason to believe that he needs help. It's so erratic. 1 minute he's in love, the next minute he isn't. The following minute he's with someone else. The next minute he's a genius. And a minute after that, he's in attack mode. Now I know that he definitely is in need of something much more intensive and extensive than just anger management. I know that for a fact. Absolute fact. The thing is, we were at a point where we had believed that he was on the verge of losing ultimate control of his ability to think and to process information. In other words, we were believing that he was losing his mind. Uh, and at that point, he would have had to have been committed, uh, prescribed medications. I mean, we could only imagine where it would have been for somebody of that celebrity and of that much wealth. Oh, yes, Bernadette, we believe he's on the spectrum, no doubt. However, even those on the spectrum, um, depending on how high they are, can acknowledge um, that there's something uh, special about themselves, right? And in that, anger management um, could be used as a catalyst to get more assistance. Um, this latest incident, it it baffles me. It really does. It really does, because you're in a situation where you have absolutely no wins. Um, and we're going to get around to how that same exact thought and behavior is prevalent among a vast majority of our men and women as well. So he is well aware of how paparazzi follows him and treats him. His battles with them, from, low level paparazzi to high levels such as TMZ and everything else, right? Is documented numerous times. Shoving, fisticuffs, throwing cameras, breaking cameras, phones, all that. This latest incident um, leads me to believe that, his antics is going to lead to a quicker decline, because this definitely isn't the climate that he needs to have law enforcement contact. All right? Definitely not. So, in this latest incident, um, he's already having um, a heated interaction with one person. He leaves that person and goes, as we see in the video, moving towards a vehicle where he's confrontational with a woman, of course, a Euro. And there goes his rant. Starts ranting about, you know, what's what you're doing with your camera. Put your cameras away, put your phone away. I don't want to be filmed. And again, we know that he is very well aware that that is a woman in the vehicle. All right? This is a woman. And he's aware that she isn't paparazzi. You see, she got one of them little stink ass little dogs in her lap and filming him. And at that point, that he's in her face, close enough to where he can reach in the vehicle, she's practically pleading with him, yo, chill. You're a celebrity. You're a celebrity. To which he, again, doesn't acknowledge what she's saying, what she's feeling. You understand? And reaches in, snatches the camera, well, the phone, and throws it. He has limited understanding of the law. And I can see that right from that. His anger took over. He was triggered and way up on that anger meter for you to snatch someone's property and throw it. Now, if this was New York, they would lay all type of charges on him for reaching into the vehicle, snatching her, because they're going to make her say that he touched her. So now you assaulted her, took her property, depending on how expensive the phone is. You did be a robbery. And then threw it. This is where we at with it now. Now he's already in a fight for custody for the children. He's already in the fight for his livelihood as far as whatever type of businesses he still has. And he's ready or prepared to risk it all because he cannot control himself, especially when he is triggered. Now, he's been a celebrity for the better part of 20 years. If he hasn't figured out a way at this point to de-escalate himself once he's triggered from paparazzi, from people taking pictures, from people, there is absolutely no hope. No hope for him. He needs an intervention and a team around him, and it's just not going to happen at this point. It's just not. On the next scale, or the next individual we have is Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes is very light with his hands. We know that. Very light. We've seen him on the court. We've seen him off the court. We know that he is very light with his hands. And up until this point, suffered minimal consequence for it. Minimal. Trigger like that. He's easily triggered, easily controlled. Again, because of his position, because of what he did as a career, there were protections. He was always protected legally. So his consequences were minimal. I don't think those same protections are here today. So, story is his current fiance's ex has been harassing him, whatever that means, right? Harassing him. You know, coming out his face, saying slick shit, threatening him. All type of little weirdness, right? He sees him at the football game. Words were exchanged, and he spit in dude's face. And after that, still was making attempts to get at the dude. And what happens, of course, dude presses charges. So here we have an ex-NBA player, successful NBA player, with one of the most successful podcasts, YouTube spaces, social media platforms out today. Risk it all for some bozo. For some bozo who ain't worth a quarter of that. But again, emotions, all right, superseded his intelligence. And now you're in a position to suffer unnecessary consequences. That spit in the face. Let's see how much it's worth. Let's see how much it's going to cost. Let's see if whatever feelings that he had at the time of doing it, he's going to be able to sit good and feel good and not worry about what consequences come. This is what I'm saying when I always speak on the behaviors, the mentality, the militancy, the knowing of yourself and knowing of your enemy at any given time. At any given time. Because we already know that once you enter the realm of corporate America and you are relying on corporate America to sustain yourself, they are looking to get you up out of here any given time. And the very first thing that they label those individuals, they label them as angry, as violent, and unstable. Unable to control themselves. The first thing. And at that point, they're scared of you. And when they're scared of you, they don't want to do any business with you and don't want you around them. That's the absolute fact. That is an absolute fact. Right? Now, I am one to always, and I tell all my clients, to let it be known that you will never ever get rid of anger. Anger is a natural emotion. It is one of the foundational emotions. Every living thing has the ability to get angry and respond to that anger. Won't get rid of it. Anger management is a space in which you can control, where you can manage your response once you are triggered, right? Because we already know that once you are triggered and you are angry and you're in motion, that you do not have a monopoly on violence. I always tell you that. If you can give it, you can surely get it. And our people suffer from failure to adequately respond to anger once we are triggered. I mean, everything else has been viral over the last week or so. So many of you have already forgotten the sister Devona Walker, right? Who was so angry arguing with a neighbor, she ended up getting stabbed up and died right in front of that neighbor's house. Right? Yeah. After she was triggered and became the aggressor, I guarantee you she would never thought that she was going to lose her life that night. Our thing is that so many of our successful Black men and women get placed in these situations and cannot control themselves because they never had any assistance with it at all. We are led to believe that once we are successful, once we attain a certain level of income, that we will never have any problems. That's just a lie. That's an absolute lie. There's always a time and a place to whip ass. You don't mix up anger, right, with self-defense, with fighting. Don't mix that up. I keep telling you, some of the most violent, physically violent people in the world will never display signs of anger. Some of them rage inside. You will never, ever see them display that. You just won't. You just won't. Right? Boxing is one of the most violent sports that we have known. And most of them are calm. Some even smile. Floyd smiles and laughs. And he's whooping ass. Right? So fighting is not necessarily from a perspective of being angry. Most of MMA fighters are taught to keep themselves in a calm space. And Bruce Lee taught us that, right? It's not from a perspective of anger. It's from a space of defending yourself or attacking. All right? Well, what I'm saying is that even us who are not celebrities, who are triggered at work, who are triggered in school, who are triggered in society, whether we're in stores, whether we're in transport from one place to the next, we do not have any time or space to allow ourselves to suffer unnecessary consequences due to having an angry outburst or response to being triggered. We don't. We just don't. This ain't back in the days. This ain't the 80s. This ain't the 90s. We don't. Yes. Oh, yes, a righteous anger when we're looking at our young fallen brother at the hands of law enforcement. But what is your response? Is your response, right, on impulse? Do you see it? Do you see the video and you go out and attack police? Or do you sit, organize, strategize, and then act? Right? And again, you won't and cannot prevent yourself from getting angry. Angry or anger is a secondary emotion. Before you get angry, there's two things going on. There's two other emotions going on, or a range of both: sadness and fear. I spoke about it before. Sadness and fear. And that sadness and fear is based on a past trauma. Now, how you responded in the past to that trauma is going to affect you once you're triggered. Yeah. If you have a fear, you're either going to fight or you're going to run. Fight or flight. If it's sadness, right, when you're in a space of depression, you may respond differently when triggered. But anything in that range, fight or flight or sadness, that's your initial emotion before the anger. The anger needs the trigger, the catalyst, the event. There's a triggering event, person, place, and a belief up here. And then you respond. So that has nothing to do with finance, none of that. You care how wealthy you are, you don't care how impoverished you are. You understand? If you are not aware of your triggers, when you get angry, you will respond in an animalistic way, a primitive mind, an impulsive mind, like an animal, like a dog, like a lion, like a snake, right? Without thought. Impulse, lion, I'm hungry, I gotta eat. You're in my territory, I gotta bite. That's what separates us from the animals. We have thought, we have reason, we have rationale. But in that reason, in that rationale, there's trauma, right? There's a specific trauma. I was beaten by police as an adolescent on numerous times. Whether I was right or wrong, it happened. How do I deal with it anytime I see police? If I have never dealt with the trauma from an intelligent and mature perspective, every time I see officer, I'm going to want to punch them in their mouth. I'm going to want to stab one. I'm going to want to attack one, because that's just a natural response to trauma. It is what it is. Until you're able to have a different belief system, until you're able to say that that happened, it is not happening now. It happened. I'm safe. It doesn't go on right now. Right now, I'm sitting in my home. I'm not being beaten by police. When I'm in the street, when I'm driving, I'm not being beaten by police. I'm not being stopped. I'm not in that lifestyle anymore. Am I still black? Yes. Do I know that there's a higher probability of me being stopped, going about my business? Of course. Of course. But it's not happening. So now I'm able to deal with that trauma that I lived through. And my beliefs begin to shift. So I'm no longer triggered when I see police. Right? This is how anger management works. But if you don't know your triggers at any given time, bang, you can do some bullshit. All right? At any given time, when you're triggered, your response can cause you to suffer consequences. Right? Like when I come on several times a day and don't get no green screens, I could have an angry response because I can be believing that I know what everybody needs and they're not being appreciative. Man, I ain't coming on no more. That could be the response, right? Believing that people are just not doing. Now, how wrong would I be or how correct would I be? Only way to find out is through the consequences. Now, I know if I don't ever come on again, who lost is that? You dig? So now, with a different belief system, I'll say as long as I'm doing and not expecting, shit, people are going to benefit from it. And then in their healing and benefiting, I'm healing and benefiting. You get that? So now, if Kanye West has a different response, a different belief about paparazzi or somebody taking his picture or filming him, then his response would be different. If Matt Barnes had a different belief about himself, right? Or knew and was really focused on the fact that this man's harassment triggers him, when he seen him, he could have looked the other way. But his belief in who that dude was and his belief in himself, because he's always light with his hands and ready to fight, caused that response, caused him to spit in that man's face. Now the consequences come. If he had anger management from the first time, if the NBA would have been giving him anger management every time he would have got into something, he may have had a different outcome. So you see how this shit works? What are your triggers? How often do you get angry during the day? And how intense is your anger? Because if you don't know, you too could be in a position where you may suffer some consequences that you ain't ready for. And then your default is going to be, I'll do it again. Sitting in that anger without correcting it. Got a lot of people like that. You got people in jail right now like that. I'll do it again. Maybe you would do it again, sir, if you was going home, but you ain't. You got a life bid, so you're going to sit there a minute. You understand? That's how this shit work. And more of our youth don't know themselves, don't know what anger is, really don't have a descriptive of any emotion. Right? Those police who killed Mr. Nichols, who stomped and beat him to death, didn't understand how their job is very triggering, and their view of the community, their view of other black men outside of the uniform is very triggering. And they killed this young man. See how it worked? So as we watch Kanye and his antics and Matt Barnes and whoever else, see what it is, right? 85% of the things I see on the news can be resolved with anger management treatment. 85%. Well, Deborah, for some, spitting is a automatic response, you know, because again, for a lot of people, haven't suffered any consequences from spitting on somebody. I've seen it behind a wall where people were charged with attempted murder for spitting on correction officers or spitting on somebody else because they knew that they had hepatitis or, had the Batman Forever virus on them and spit, you know. Once you suffer consequences for something, depending on how mentally balanced you are or aren't, you'll get it. You'll get it. It's obvious Matt Barnes, like I said, he hasn't suffered any consequences for his actions or minimal consequence because, his behavior is representative of that. Straight up. Straight up. His actions are representative of that. He has to lose more. And again, I'm not saying whether he's right or wrong. I'm just saying when you are in the public eye, when you're at these events, when you're in the street, when you know you're being filmed, and you still cannot hold your composure, come on. Come on. So, it is what it is. I just encourage everybody, if you don't know your triggers, you need to find out. Book an assessment. Never tolerate disrespect. Disrespect could be a figment of your imagination. Because I've seen people totally disrespected in the workplace, and they don't respond at all, and then go home and want to beat the shit out of their spouse. For the slightest infraction. So you mean to tell me you can hold your composure at work when this little man that's 5'2", 105 pounds, tell you ain't going on vacation, you ain't come back from lunch on time, I'm writing you up, and you don't say nothing. And they say you're simple, you don't work good anyway. Total disrespect, and you hold your composure and walk. And you go home, and your family say something, you ready to kick everybody's ass, you breaking up everything, you got the kids running around terrified and all that. You held your composure there, but not here. Right? I've seen all type of people get disrespected. It's a matter of belief. I've seen people behind the wall, all right, get totally disrespected. I mean, disrespected by the correction officers. And they don't do nothing. They do nothing. But let another black man say he won't use a phone or watch the news, and they'll put a knife in him. I mean, if you feel I ain't gonna be disrespected, that gotta go around the board. You can't pick and choose. How you gonna pick and choose if that's your stand? I ain't getting disrespected. Nobody gonna disrespect me. But you picking and choosing. You dig? So figure out. Yeah, exactly. Deborah, yeah. Yeah, don't be known with the frightened. Yeah, exactly. So again, like I said, find out your triggers, man. Find out how to balance yourself. People believe that, different things overlap. You understand? They believe things overlap. Financial, intelligence, you know what I'm saying? Spirituality, all those are different states. Those are different states of beings. And at times they don't. Them things are parallel. A lot of them things don't cross. Just because you wealthy don't mean you're intelligent. Just because you're intelligent don't mean you make the proper decisions in every situation. You understand? Just because you big and strong don't mean you ain't a punk ass bitch. You understand? And just because you're little don't mean you're a coward and can't fight. All these different states of being. These things are all true and false at the same time. How do you navigate all those spaces? That's what allows you to survive. Right? Just because those individuals was black and melanated didn't mean they were sadistic and hated our own people to the point of beating them to death. Yeah, they black. And people want to stop with this FBA shit. I'm gonna stop with that. Because I can guarantee you at least 3 of them native to right here. One of them name is Emmett Martin III. How ironic is that? Named after Emmett Till and Martin Luther King Jr. But you kill an innocent black man. Again, you have to have knowledge of self, your environment, and your natural enemy. All right? So if you ain't signed up yet, you need to sign up. And yeah, Mahogany, you got to have them hands. Got to have them hands. You got to train. Got to remain militant. Got to. So again, salute, peace and power. Hit the green screen on your way out. I may be back, but on a uh, different type of build. Different type of build. You know? So salute. Thank you all for coming. Be safe. Know thyself. I'm telling you, know thyself. You have to know and understand who you are so you can make proper decisions all of the time. Because that's one thing we don't have. It's evident. We don't have time. We don't have time to waste. You don't have time to put shit to the side. You have to be in a constant state of militancy if we're going to survive this shit. Peace.